Good afternoon. Welcome to another Iceman Series segment. I just wanted to touch on quite a few things about bow hunting. For starters, back in 1985, I picked up my first bow, which was the whitetail, bear whitetail bow. I had no idea what I was doing when I picked up that bow. I had no idea on how to sight it in. Uh, I had no idea how to hunt. But I picked the bow up, put a sight on it, used a 3-finger glove, adjusted my 4 pins. Because back in those days I had 4 pins, which was, I think I had it at 10 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards, and 40 yards. So when I adjusted my 10-yard sight, when I finally sighted it in, like I said, I had no idea what I was doing, had no teacher. So I just used a piece of cardboard box and went up against a hill, used the hill as a backdrop, and just shot the bow with the pin and realized my arrow went low. So I lowered my pin. First I raised the pin, then I shot lower. Then I found out, okay, if you raise your pin, you're going to shoot lower. If you lower your pin, you're going to shoot higher. So I lowered my pin a little bit farther than it was before, and then I shot a little higher. So I lowered the pin again, shot higher until I got my 10 yards. I said, okay, now I understand on how to sight a bow in. Then I adjusted my 20-yard pin, and what I did, I made a mark, not a mark, I'm sorry. I measured between my 10 and my 20, and then that's where I set my 30 and my 40 and tried it, and it was perfect. So I had to figure out how to scout. Um, I want to say 10 years later, really, because I didn't take it seriously. You have to really take it seriously when you go in the woods and harvest an animal, because you owe it to the animal to make a humane kill. So I figured out, okay, how to find bottlenecks, how to find pinch points, funnels, which has funnels and social scrapes, bottlenecks. Those are my 3 favorite ways to try to ambush a whitetail buck. But it really took a while for me to determine on how to set up on a buck in certain scenarios, like weather conditions. For some reason, funnels and pinch points are my 2 favorite. I narrow those down when it get cold, or during the pre-rut through the rut, because a lot of times a buck is going to run that funnel or is going to run that bottleneck, and he's going to search for those does. So I'll set up in between, right in the center of the funnel most of the time. But on a bottleneck, a lot of times I set up right at that bottleneck within a few, probably I want to say 20 yards back into the bottleneck, because for the most part, if he's coming off of a clear cut, if he's coming off of another spot of the creek bottom, whatever that ties into that bottleneck, for the most part, he's going to come right into that bottleneck first. He's not going to skirt the edge. He'll go right into it and then go into the thicket, and then go and start looking for that doe. But like I said, over the years, from 1985, when I purchased my first bow, and then like I said, it came out with this bow here, the Verdicts. I'm talking about back then, I was shooting, I believe, 140 feet per second with the bear whitetail. And this bow here, I'm shooting 318. Well, I was shooting 321, but once the string settled down, I'm shooting 318 feet per second with a 393.5 grain arrow. This Verdicts, like I said, the Verdicts is super, super quiet. The grip is phenomenal. The back wall is excellent. The brace height is 30 inches axle to axle. I'm sorry, not the brace height. The bow is 30 inches axle to axle. The brace height is 6 inches. This is the brace height here. It's 6 inch. And I really can't find anything wrong with this bow. Like I said, the Verdicts to me is the ultimate hunting bow. Um, when Mathews made um, this bow here is perfect. I don't see any flaws in this bow. It shoots phenomenal. For my opinion, the Verdicts is the best bow that Mathews has ever come up with. That's just my opinion. Um, I'm not planning on getting rid of this bow. I have ABB premium strings on it, and like I said, I have it dialed in um, just how I want it. The peep sight's in the right location, but on this bow here, I did not put a kisser button because for the past 10 years, I've been trying to figure out how to harvest a buck uh, when it's just when it's just getting light or just before dark. Because I used to have a lot of bucks come in on me. I have a lot of bucks come in a lot of the times just before the sun up and just before the sun go down, and I could not figure out how to harvest these bucks. But my thing is, if I could see a buck without adjusting my pen, without turning my light on my pen, and I can identify that particular buck, I should be able to harvest that buck. And that's what happened to me back in opening day of this year, where opening day of 19, where I've harvested this buck, and I did not pay attention to the time. I made a mistake on my story. I put the wrong time on there, and that's a couple of guys ran with it. But I was able to see the deer, and I did not have time to look at my watch to find out, okay, what time is it before I shoot this deer? Because when you're in the heat of the moment, you're not paying no attention to your watch. As long as you can see that animal, to me, I think that would be a legal way of saying, okay, I can harvest this animal. If you have a flashlight or anything like that, then yeah. But if you can actually identify that animal and draw back on him, then you should be able to harvest that animal. But anyway, like I said, it took me years to really learn how to scout, and it took me years to learn how to really perfect archery hunting. And not only archery hunting, just shooting my bow in general, because when you have a bow, you want to make sure that particular bow fits everything that you want it for. Because you can look at a bow and you might think the bow is cool looking, but that's not going to harvest that buck. It's not about a cool looking bow. It's about, okay, does that bow fit you? Is the back wall good? Is the axle good? Is the brace height good? Is the grip good? Is the draw weight good? Is the arrow good? Is the sight good? Is the peep sight the right size? There's a lot to go into play. Is the even stabilizer too long? Some guys put these back stabilizers on, that's okay if that's what you prefer, because sometimes you need that back stabilizer if you're using a quiver full of arrows. And me personally, I don't hunt with a quiver. When I get in the stand, I remove my quiver, and this is, if you see this, looking at this bow here, this is pretty much all I have on my bow. I don't turn my bow into a Christmas tree. I have it just as basic as I can. And matter of fact, I keep it as light as I can because I don't like a really heavy bow. And also, when you're at full draw, I like to stand. I don't stand sideways. I stand like on a 5-degree angle. And also, my grip. This grip here just sits in the pocket of my hand on this bow, on all bows that I hunt with, and that really fine-tuned my stance, because you have to, when you have full draw, you always have to have the same exact stance, anchor point, and when you're in a tree stand, you don't change your anchor point. You don't change a whole lot of different things to hit an animal. And when you have full draw, just keep the same anchor point. Even if you have to bend over, just keep the same anchor point. And when you bend it over, you pretty much got the same setup, just as you shooting on the ground and just shooting straight. But like I said, I had to learn a lot. A lot of it is self-taught, and some of it is getting tips from other guys, because there's a lot of other hunters out there that's really great hunters, and every now and then you have to lean on somebody else to ask some questions just in case if you mess up. Because I can recall several years ago, I've shot a buck. It's like a 170-inch buck, and I was using another bow, and I'm at full draw on this buck, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting ready to dispatch this deer, but he was quartering away, and as soon as I hit the release, he ducked. As soon as I hit the release, he ducked. Then I had to figure out, okay, what in the world did I do wrong? Then after I got down and let it process, when I got back to the truck, I realized what was going on. My bow was too loud. I won't be calling on which bow that was, but because I don't want to put them out there like that. But my bow is extremely too loud, because if you hit that release, when that buck is down on that ground, if you're up in the stand or even in the ground blind, when you hit that release, he should not react to the touch of your release. He should react to that arrow getting near him. But he definitely shouldn't react when the arrow just leaves the bow, because you have to also take into consideration, you want to make sure your arrow is not too loud either. So I did a video on arrow sound going down to the target. I put a camera in between the arrow and the target, and I shot it and listened to different sounds of different weight arrows. So if your arrow is too light and too fast, it'll get a really bad whistling sound, and that can also hurt your hunt. But if you have an arrow that's just right, like I said, my bow is getting 318 feet per second, but when I shot that arrow downrange, the sound of that arrow wasn't as loud as an arrow that was lighter, because some guys want to shoot so fast, but I don't know why you want to shoot too fast, because it's okay to have good speed. But 318, I was just trying to get 300 feet per second for my bows versus 320, 318, but I just happen to have a bow that shoots 318. And I use the same arrow as I used on my Triax, my Halon 6, my VXR 31.5, and my Triax. But I use the same exact weight arrow, because I'm shooting the same draw weight and shooting 29 inch. But like I said, having that bow, once you get the right bow for yourself, shoot that bow and shoot that bow and shoot that bow some more. And then what that'll do is you'll learn that stance. You'll learn your stance. It'll be second nature to you when you have full draw, because like I said, sometime when that buck comes through, I said it before, sometime when that buck comes through, you only got 5 to 7 seconds to shoot. Sometimes you don't even have that long. So when you have full draw, you don't have time to think about anchor point, grip, peep sight. So when you have full draw, it's like boom, you're right there, and you follow that buck. And once you got that peep sight lined up with your eye, all you got to do after that is focus on that pin, because you're already anchored in with your right hand or left hand, whichever way you shoot. You're already anchored in, and you just follow that buck with that pin. You don't follow that buck through that peep sight. You follow that buck with that pin. And I'm going to tell you, once you follow that buck with your pin, as long as you're dead straight, dead center with your peep, you follow him with that pin, I'm going to tell you, that will increase your odds of hitting that deer, because you got so much things going through your mind. When you got a 180-inch buck, 150-inch buck, 130-inch buck coming through there, and your chemicals in your brain is doing all kinds of strange things, because your heart rate then went up from 120 over 80 to probably 140 over 80 because your heart beating so hard and you're trying to calm yourself down, and you're trying to make that shot. So I personally like that single pin sight, and like I said, this is the HHH Tetra sight that I got from my brother Chris Ham. HHA sight, and it's a single pin, and I've been using those single pins over 15 years, and let me tell you, it increased my odds on harvesting a buck. I mean, you talking about it increased about 50%, probably more than that, because you don't have time to figure out, okay, what distance is he, because for years I was shooting 4 pins for years, and then I went down to 3 pins, and now I'm down to the single pin. But by me using my formula on how to harvest a buck with my setup, and I'd say, okay, I had to figure out how to stay in that 300 feet per second range. And by me staying in that 300 feet per second range, I had to make sure I had the right arrow weight, and quite nicely my draw weight, and the length of the shaft as well. So if I said to myself, if I could stay within 300, 305, I can accomplish between 0 and 40 without having to elevate that pin. And like I said, I'm actually adding, I'm actually repeating myself on some of the things I had said in the past, but that's another thing that really helped me harvest more deer, because when you're dealing with single pin, you can't be adjusting that sight all the time if that deer is coming. Some guys use range finders, which is I've never used a range finder. I've harvested 33 shooters in my time, in my life so far, and I've never used a range finder because for some reason I can kind of guesstimate on how far this deer is. I guess I've been hunting so long, and I don't know if that's a gift or just, I don't believe in luck, but I guess it's just what you call a gift to be able to figure out, okay, that deer is 40. I know I'm not 100% saying 40, but he's like around 40, 35, 38, in that area. But I be saying that in my mind, and I just put the pin on him within 40 yards, and I dispatch him pretty much every time. But like I said, I've made my bad hits in my time. I know that I can count. I made 4 really bad shots over the years, maybe 5, and the ones that I've and I'm sure I made more, just don't remember them. But I know I could count that I made like 5 bad shots on bucks. But I had to learn how to go back to the basics. I had to learn how to just go back to ABC of bow hunting, because I got to the point where I thought I was real good about it. Real good. I thought I was like Robin Hood or somebody. I got to the point where I was just too comfortable on bow hunting, and by being too comfortable, that's when I started messing up. And then I had to go back to the basics: draw back, anchor in, be centered with that kisser button, then use the pin. And I'm gonna tell you, when I started doing that, I started really grouping tighter, and I also started harvesting my bucks like I supposed to, because like I said, when you're at full draw and you're anchoring in, you know you're looking dead center through that peep sight. Then you focus on the pin from there. Just follow the pin. Don't follow nothing else. Because I used to, before that, I used to just always look back and forth at the pin, at the peep, at the pin, at the peep. And then when I kept doing that, I started missing, and I started making bad hits. And so I would shoot over the deer, I would shoot under the deer, because I'm always going back and forth with the peep and the pin, the peep and the pin. And I was like, you know what, I got to figure out a better way to be able to harvest a deer. So that's when I said, okay, once I have that solid anchor back here, and I used to use kisser buttons a few years ago on my other bows, but this particular bow here, like I said, my verdicts, I took the kisser off because I had made a bad shot on my triax. So come to find out, my kisser was out of place. I had it too low, and by being too low, it made me raise my anchor point. And by me raising my anchor point, I shot high, hit that no man's land. This was 2 years ago on my second buck that I shot November the 4th. November the 1st, I believe. And then I end up getting him 13 days later, November the 14th. But and matter of fact, I got my second buck. I redeemed myself with my second buck with my verdicts. But also, um, goes when you scouting. Speaking of scouting, when you scouting, go into the woods and figure out, okay, buck trails. You have to identify buck trails. Buck trails are normally the faint trails. The doe trails are normally the more worn down trails. Figure out the bedding area. If you don't understand what a bedding area is, look for a thick area in your track where you hunt at. Look for jack pines. Look for pine thickets. The young pines. Look for blowdowns. Look for briars, thick areas. Mostly flats when it comes to does. Bucks normally, their bedding areas, they normally go into like a higher elevation. They will bed in the same vicinity or a close vicinity as the does will, but they normally have like a higher elevation with blowdowns and things like that. Almost in where it's hard to penetrate their corridor. And a lot of times they'll have a little small lane, a little hole that's real low. They'll go up under the brush into that, and it may open up, it may not. But it just takes a while to really learn how to scout. But like I said, you have to be able to adapt. You have to be able to adapt to every situation. Like I said, low light. I've learned that when I had bucks would come in. Like I said, the other buck. 2019 first buck, he came in. I knew which buck it was. It was just the sun was just getting ready to come up, and I'm at full draw. I knew which buck it is. I put the pin behind the shoulder, hit the release, kicked up and ran, and I went and retrieved him and drug him out on it with the ATV and put him on a truck, and the rest was history. But like I said, that's another buck. That's the second buck I actually shot, where the sun wasn't even up, but I could see the deer. Then I had another buck come in 2014. I was in the stand all day long. I was using another bow at the time, Hoyt carbon spotter, and I could see the deer. I could barely see him, but I knew which buck it was. So I just drew back and. Because I could see the silhouette of him. Drew back, put the pin behind his shoulder, hit the release. I seen him kick up. All I saw was white belly. And then I heard him crash. And I was like, this deer only went 15 yards and fell over. So I was like, wow. But I had to learn how to shoot during low light because I practiced that at home. When it gets dark, I'll go outside and I'll put the target 10, 15 yards from me. I'll draw back and the only reason why I could find my anchor point with that particular setup because I had the kisser button. You can't find that peep sight without a kisser button. You definitely need a kisser button. And that's another thing that I've done. But like I said, food sources, bait stations sometime when you can't use a food plot, you got to use some type of attractor to bring deer in. Deer ain't gonna just come on your property for nothing. You got to have something to bring those deer to you. Especially the does. And during the winter, you want to fatten them up for not only breeding, but for when they have those babies. You want to give them something that help them out. Like I said, I don't shoot does during the winter. I don't shoot does at all, but especially during the winter because they may be pregnant, and that's one of the reasons why I don't shoot them. But But it's just amazing on how far archery has come over the years because, like I said, the verdicts, the VXR, don't get me wrong, that's a sweet bow. But the verdicts, to me, is the best bow that Mathews ever came out with because, like I said, you talking about 33 years of bow hunting, and from then till now, I wasn't even thinking about these bows being so quiet, so fast, and so easy to shoot because this bow here, it almost halfway corrects itself when you're at full draw. as long as you don't squeeze the grip. But if you just let this grip sit into the pocket of your hand, it would actually somewhat correct itself. And if you do that every time, but like I said, make sure that anchor point is the same every time. Make sure your stance. Don't be standing completely sideways and have your arm straight out. Have your arm kind of bent just a little bit and stand at like a 5-degree angle. And that will give you more clearance on that arm. And not only that, you won't over torque the bow. And also, when you're hunting in the cold weather, you won't hit that arm with that string when you hit that release. But I think that's it. I don't have anything else to say. But like I said, scout. You got to learn how to scout. Look for buck sign. Look for rubs. Look for tree. Look for rub lines. Definitely look for rub lines. If you find yourself a rub line, that's a piece of gold right there. If you find yourself a rub line with like 6 or 7, 8, 10 trees in a row that's rubbed out, you know that's a mature buck. And just move in on him when it's time. Don't over hunt. Don't over scout. Definitely don't over hunt a spot. Always hunt that spot maybe 2 times. Move. After you hunt that spot like twice, move to another location. But if you hunt that spot too many times, you will not see that deer. That deer will become nocturnal. Find an isolated water hole if you can, especially during early season. If you find an isolated water hole, I mean, even if the water hole is the size of a basketball, but if the water stays in there, you'd be surprised what a buck will do. He'll find that spot and drink it, and he's gone. He'll come back to it, drink it again. You can hunt that spot on early season, or even if it's secluded. If it's secluded, he'll hunt it. He'll drink that water. If it's secluded, if he feels safe, he'll drink. And find you, like I said, pinch points, bottlenecks. I like hunting scrapes, social scrapes. I like hunting those. I like hunting funnels. But anyway, get to know your equipment. And like I said, learn how to scout. Get to know your equipment. Learn how to scout. And don't hunt too much. And I guarantee your success rate will go up. All right. God bless you. Iceman signing out. And once again, if you don't know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, I encourage you to get to know him. Because I'm going to tell you, he's been in my life for a long time. And he has really taken me through a lot of different things in life to make me the man who I am today. All right. God bless you. Like I said, read Romans 10:9. Confess with your mouth and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you shall be saved. God bless. Take care.